crazy, 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 crazy.
Act like an angel and dress like crazy.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello. How are you? I'm Cutie Corn. In the previous video of one-sentence opinions, I mentioned two opinions that caught attention. I said was that stage presence was overrated and that facial expressions are not a talent. So today we are going to solve the big doubts in the K-pop industry, as stage presence is a concept that is often mentioned in the entertainment world, but not many understand. I just have to say sorry for the bad English. I hope you like it and enjoy it. Now let's get started.
All the girls are yelling. All the girls are yelling. All the girls are yelling. All the yelling girls.
I guess whoever is watching this video already has their own definition of stage presence in mind. And maybe they are waiting for me to validate their perspective, or are just here out of curiosity when they see the cover of this video.
I'm only human after all.
For many people, stage presence is based on connecting with the audience or making facial expressions with one or two other things. But in these moments, I will try to be as objective as possible, because in reality, defining it is more difficult than it seems. Before explaining it with words, let's see it with an example. I want you to pay attention to the girl in white with the ones in black in this presentation. Personally, I think this video reflects well what stage presence really is. And if someone didn't quite get it, don't worry, because I will explain it to you anyway. Stage presence is the ability of someone to capture the audience's attention through a combination of key elements as confidence, energy, expressiveness, connection with the audience, among others. It's not just about making facial expressions or moving well as some fans want to make it seem. As I said, it's a combination of certain strategies to make the audience not stop looking at you. Also, this is not exclusive to K-pop. According to what I have searched, this concept is very present in theater.
Did not, honey lamb? I will slice this thing up like a ham.
Oh boy.
But it is just as relevant in singing and dancing, even in other contexts such as in political speeches or even marketing. Many important figures rehearse their speeches. The tone of voice or gesticulations are important strategies in that are. I know well that many are about to comment, or in fact have already commented, something like stage presence is important, because without it, it would be boring to see a group live. Don't get me wrong, I agree. As you will see, this is not exclusive to K-pop. It is also seen on the other side of the world, I mean pop. There are many Super Bowl performances that are saved not only by the level of production, but also by the presence that the artists have on stage. If you don't believe me, look for Coldplay's performance with Bruno Mars and Beyoncé, the latter to practically save that show. But the pop world is another topic, and here we are specifically talking about stage presence in K-pop, so back in our conversation. The point is that even if I completely understand that stage presence is something that should be part of K-pop, there are many factors to consider. Sure, we already have a more structured definition based on different sources, and while they all have commonalities, there doesn't seem to be a single exact definition. That's the main problem with stage presence. It's not something that can be quantified, because it's a subjective feeling that it provokes in the viewer. It is something inherent, difficult to describe in theory, but when you see it, you feel it. Although it is subjective and at the same time has certain technical points, how do you measure something that is practically invisible? Now you will say to me, hey, but that definition you gave is exactly what I thought, only in dictionary format. And yes, so far so good, but there is something else, a more complex issue. How natural is this ability in pop? Is this something that is learned, or are some people just born with it? The The definition of talent is the natural ability or capacity to be good at something, especially without being taught. These can include artistic, culinary, athletic, social, or academic skills. While a talent may be innate, it can also be developed through hard work in any of the areas. This is where I pull out my favorite strategy: references to animated movies. For example, in Ratatouille, Remy, the main character, has natural cooking skills, although thanks to Colette's advice he manages to perfect his technique, since before he entered the culinary arts he had an innate instinct for cooking. On the other hand, Colette would represent hard work, the person who has to work hard because she was not born with that gift for cooking, but she managed with dedication to become the high-level chef she is. Finally, we have Linguini. Well, he exists. He has no natural aptitude for cooking, but this does not mean that he is useless. He can be good at something else. If this example doesn't convince you or is more complicated, The Characters of Monsters University is another great example. Sorry if you don't quite understand my analogies, but now you know my main language is references and animated movies. Don't judge me. The same goes for most idols in K-pop. Some are born with the natural ability to perform an activity. Others develop it with training and experience. And others, no matter how hard they try, don't make it. And it's okay to say it. I guess you already have in mind some idol you hate or defend to death. Don't lie. Going back to the subject of stage presence, is it a talent or not? Can it be trained? Well, both. In some cases, it can be considered a talent, as there are idols who naturally convey confidence, charisma, and a strong connection with the audience. However, it is also something that can be developed over time. Back to the Lady Marmalade video, which I didn't post in full due to copyright issues. You can look it up in full. The girls in black, Taeyeon and Tiffany from Girls' Generation, literally took over the stage once they appear on screen, when the main protagonist was Aeon, yes, the one in white. Not my invention. At the top of the video, Aeon's name appears with Taeyeon and Tiffany, which confirms that they were the companions in this program that seems to be a singing competition, and not as the main figures. Aeon is a talented singer, but here in particular she was overshadowed due to her lack of confidence and experience in front of Taeyeon and Tiffany, who show a more established stage presence. It is worth noting that she also have had a long musical career, so these details could have improved with time. Besides, Taeyeon and Tiffany were also rookies at the time, and they had to work hard to make their stage presence become more natural. Despite all these formalities, how does this affect the way we perceive idols? As they say in Euphoria, what really matters is fucking confidence. While confidence is an important thing not just when you're an artist, but in life in general, we shouldn't confuse it with talent. Because being confident on stage doesn't automatically make you a good singer or dancer. We know that in K-pop, idols are not only strictly trained in singing and dancing. Agencies also train certain skills to sell the image of the perfect idol, which can be mistaken for being naturally charismatic, something admirable, but which is prefabricated and part of the model that the industry imposes. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but with the overvaluation that stage presence has derived in the current generation of K-pop, it can be misleading. It is essentially the same fallacy of authority as believing that because someone is more confident with their arguments in a debate means they are right, but applying it to K-pop. Also, we must remember that stage presence is not just an individual attribute. It is also a group component. Sometimes an idol cannot stand out on their own, but becomes one with the group when they are in sync. The chemistry between members, coordination and working together is also very important and influences the perception many have about stage presence. Many fans often use stage presence as a defense to show that they are not so bad, or that they have more skills than they appear to have. But this indirectly can contribute to an individualistic narrative, where many fans want their idol to stand out enough so that they don't get left behind. This is where there is a contradiction. Fans want their bias to shine, but not to stand out too much. Because if one draws too much attention, they accuse them of wanting to outshine others, or that they are overacting. Hello, Suki. Yes, they were just thinking of you. If you don't shine, it's because you have little charisma. But if you shine too much, you're overdoing it. It's as if there's an unwritten rule that idols have to find an exact point between standing out and not overshadowing anyone. This is not realistic at all. Not everyone can be the center of attention all the time, because that would break the visual harmony and dynamics of the presentation. There is also this other part of the pond where many think it's just about making cute or sexy faces, when in reality that's only a part of it. Because unless you're a robot, facial expressiveness is something we can all do. Yes, it's important to convey emotions on stage. No one wants to see a still face, but that's not a talent as such. To come to consider it a talent is the reason why so far aespa still hasn't beaten Black Mamba. Since when did they give so much importance to facial expressions? Are we in some kind of intensive acting contest and no one warned me? Many have come to the point of thinking that it doesn't matter if an idol is deficient in an artistic skill, be it singing, dancing, or rapping, if they have enough stage presence or have good facial expressions because they winked at you. Is it worth it? Some time ago, I saw a video talking about difficult choreographies where it was mentioned that one of the factors that made them so complicated was that they required a lot of stage presence. Honestly, I was thinking, what? Since when is stage presence a technical criterion of difficulty in a choreography? What kind of standards do they have? Do you see what I'm getting at? By the way, this has been dragging on since past generations. Don't think I'm only talking about the current generation. Although many reasons why I'm making this video are because of comments I've seen from current generation fans. But well, stage presence is overrated to the point of overshadowing technical skills that end up distorting the objective perspective you should have. Again, it's something fundamental, of course, but I personally think that some fans, not to say most, tend to exaggerate its importance, as if it were the only factor to be an idol. In the end, what is clear is that there is widespread confusion about what it really means to have stage presence. However, I also don't want to be unfair and fall into simplistic judgments. It is easy to fall into the idea that there are idols with great stage presence who are not necessarily good singers or dancers, and vice versa. Although this may be in certain specific cases true, I don't want to confuse you and pretend that idols are not talented just because they are charismatic. That's the plot of Trolls 3, even though those antagonists are based on a real case. It is not fair of me to make a generalization. As much as I am speaking in very general terms, I cannot analyze every group, every performance, every idol, or every fancam one by one in detail. I don't want you to misunderstand me and conclude this on my part. That's redundant. It minimizes both the talent and effort that idols put into the work they ultimately want to do. For some reason, every group and every idol is a different story with its weaknesses and strengths that are not always visible to the naked eye, especially in an industry like this. As I was writing this, I came to a point of reflection where the idols are not necessarily the problem, but in how the term stage presence is distorted and confused to the point of overvaluation. As if it were a whole, an absolute to define an idol's talent, when in reality, as we said, it is just another part of the formula, an important one, yes, but not sustainable on its own. Something akin to the Substance X of Powerpuff Girls, but it doesn't have to take all the credit next to the sugar, flowers, and colors. Until we understand that, we will continue to be trapped in a narrative that ignores the complexity and real effort behind each presentation.
찾을 테니 catch me if you can.
As you could see, this analysis was not about reviewing every tiny detail about the stage presence of each idol or group in their performances. As a good part of the community that pretends to be professional choreographers, supposedly analyzing the technique of an idol and inventing rankings to make them look better or worse than they really are. At this point, this video seems more like a personal revenge with cartoon references, claims, and a touch of drama. Sorry, it's a bit my style and I had no one to talk to about this. But well, let's finish. At no time did I pretend to know more than you. I'm sorry if it seemed that way. These are just the conclusions I came to while arguing everything you saw. Although I tried to be objective, I might not have let a bit of my personal opinion slip in between. If you disagree or agree with me, I find it totally valid. I'm not one to stop you from commenting on your opinions. Rather, I wanted to make an analysis about the collective perception of the fandom community at large about stage presence. Perhaps stage presence is not entirely overrated, but rather misunderstood. No idol has, strictly speaking, perfect stage presence. As artists, they have strengths and weaknesses. They are human beings, but this presence can compensate for a lack of ability in singing, rapping, and vice versa, depending on the case. There can be a balance, and that balance is what gives magic to their performances. We can't make idols out to be something they are not, or reduce them to a single characteristic. It doesn't do them justice. Stage presence is not everything, but it is not nothing either. It is a part of the whole. I hope you liked this attempt at a video essay, or at least that you enjoyed it. I hope you can comment what you think either for or against. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, or check out my other videos. Now there is nothing more I have to say. Bye-bye.